Right, this the next topic that we are going to cover would be to use the work of component auditors, or we say other auditors. If you see the standard here, altogether there are 40 pages, yeah, quite lengthy as compared to the other two standards. Let's look at this here. The contents of the standard. So the requirement covers from number section 11 until section 50. Yes, section 50. So it's a lot here. Yeah, a lot. And using the work of the component auditors here is actually related to group audit. Yeah, later we are going to do group audit. So for the group audit, generally would cover this one actually, using the work of the component auditor. Yeah, but just concentrate that for this particular lesson, we assume that the external auditor is going to use the work of the other component auditors. Yeah, now, so let's start. All right, so this is using the work of the component auditors. Right. Okay, you know, in business, uh, the client of the company can be a single client company, or they can be actually a group of companies. So for example, that making up the group would be the holding company, the subsidiary company, as well as the associated company. Yeah. Okay, for these purposes, I'm not going to relate to branches, yeah, because branches is actually not related, or is not for branches, the company will only have one auditor. Yeah. But for a group company, we have many auditors, and because in a group, let's say 3 companies in a group, each company can have their own auditor. Yeah. And the principal auditor would be the auditor of the group, yeah, the auditor of the group, or the auditor of the holding company. Yeah. Now, before we go into detail, let's look at the definition here. Now, when we say component, component is actually referring to the business and the individual company. Let's say in a group, we have a holding company, and then this holding company has 2 subsidiary 1, subsidiary 2, which I say S1, S2, and then perhaps another one, associate company A1, A1, associate company. So each of these company, they may have their own auditor. Yeah. So the component is actually referring to S1, referring to S2, referring to A1, the associate company just now. Yeah. So number B here, component auditor would refer to the auditor of S1, auditor of S2, auditor of A1. Component management would refer to the board of directors of S1, board of director of S2, board of director of A1. Okay. And what about component materiality? Component materiality here, you know what materiality is all about. Usually we relate this to misstatement lah. Component, sorry, bukan juga. Component materiality, that means whether it's a subsidiary company or whether it's an associated company. So which one is more considered to be more material to the group? Obviously, it will be the subsidiary, right? Because the share, the holding of the company in the subsidiary is greater than 50%. Yeah, the holding company has share or invested in the subsidiary company more as compared to in the associated company. Okay, that is one. And then also when we say component materiality, maybe how this component, um, contribute to the financial stability of the holding company. So that too can be considered as component materiality. Yeah. Or anything that, or any company, any subsidiary or associate that can actually affect the stability, can affect the profitability within the industry. Yeah, or it can cause the holding company to go bankrupt. Yeah, so that is how we define the materiality. Yeah, so the materiality for a component determined by the group engagement team. So it's not up to the individual component company, but it's actually the group engagement team. So group, I have actually mentioned to you just now. So group audit would be usually carried out by the auditor of the parent company. Holding company is parent company. Yeah. So the auditor of the parent company will carry out group audit, audit of group financial statement. That means not only for the parent company, the holding company, but also for the other subsidiary for a group. Yeah, for a group. Remember, in a group company, we have what? The individual financial statement, and then we have the consolidated financial statements. Yes. So that means the group audit would be to audit the consolidated financial statement. The individual financial statement would be audited by the component auditor. Component auditor. Group engagement partner is actually the person, the partner in charge for this group audit. Group engagement team, that means the group engagement partner will select the member. Will select the member to be in the team, and it can be from the component auditor, the auditor from the component company. Yeah. So group financial statement, I have mentioned. Group management would be the parent board of directors. Group wide control. Yeah. Significant component here, which we can say that can affect the component materiality. Yeah, clear. Yeah. Now, I'm not going to go through this all, yeah, because this is actually very lengthy. Yeah, but I just like to relate how the auditor. So when I say auditor here, I'm referring to, dia tak ada definition dekat sini. Usually they will use the previously they use principal auditor, but now they use the group engagement partner. So the group engagement partner is what we say the auditor lah. Yeah? When I say auditor, I refer to this here, the group engagement partner. Is that clear, everybody? To me, I repeat again, when I use the term auditor, I will refer to the group engagement partner, because group engagement partner is going to use the work of other auditor. Who is other auditor? The component auditor. Yeah, the component auditor. Right. Okay, now I would like you to imagine a situation. Yeah, so we said just now we have parent company, the holding company, and then that company has two subsidiary, S1, S2, and A1. So that means in the group parent company we have auditor, auditor P, auditor G lah, auditor for the group. Oh, sorry, auditor for the parent company, auditor P. Yeah, auditor P. The name is auditor P. The auditor for S1, I say auditor S1. Auditor for S2, I say auditor S2. Auditor for the associate, I say that auditor A. Yeah. So this auditor, okay, S1, S2, auditor parent, and auditor A, they can be different auditor, uh, different auditor. But there might be a situation where in company S1, the auditor can also be auditor auditor G, yeah, auditor P, auditor P. Who is auditor P? The auditor of the parent, right? So in S1, in company S1, the auditor can be different auditor, which is auditor S1, or it can be the same auditor as the parent. That means auditor P. Yeah. So it doesn't mean that the component auditor may be completely different person. It can be the same individual person because they are group, yeah, group company. If let's say the parent has gone through, the parent can actually decide in S1, okay, I want you to uh, have this auditor. That means the same auditor as in the parent company as in the S1 company. Yeah. So clear about that, yeah. So it could be that for all the group, same auditor can also happen. Same auditor, kalau if like that, then that's going to be no problem. That means we are not going to have the issue about using the word of component auditor. The issue when we have the component auditor, using the word of component auditors is a situation where the subsidiary S1, S2, A1 may at least one is different from the auditor of the parent. Clear about that, yeah? So what is the issue here? The issue here is actually with regard to the using the word of component auditor. Remember when we say consolidated account, the component auditor is going to uh, audit the respective financial statement of the company. And this financial statement will be collectively consolidated into only one financial statement for the group. So you can see that the contribution of each of these auditor is going to be used by the group auditor when they are going to audit the group financial statement. Yeah. So the issue would be whether these component auditors are reliable or not reliable, independent or not independent. We know that of course the auditor has to be the auditor, external auditor has to be independent, but we cannot take for granted. So that means the group auditor, yeah, I refer to group auditor lah senang, yeah. The group auditor, that means the group engagement partner. the group auditor has to determine the independent status of the component auditor. So if the component auditor is not independent, then the group auditor has to be very careful. Yeah, because when group auditor is going to audit the group financial statement, auditor will have, if not independent, that means the auditor suspect that some of the information in the group financial statement may not be reliable. It may not be accurate, may be manipulated, yeah, because of the not because no independence just now by the component auditor. Yeah. And remember, the group auditor is going to form opinion for the consolidated account. So you can see here that the group auditor has to consider the work of this component auditor after evaluating the independent status. Is like, if let's say acceptable, then they are going to look at the information, the individual information. Yeah. Um, so understanding the component auditor. So beside the independence, yeah, the group auditor is also going to look at the ethical requirement. Yeah, the ethical requirement of the component auditor, going to look at the competency of the component auditor, and going to consider the extent, how the work of the component auditor is going to be used in the um, as in going to be used in the group audit work. Yeah. So if a lot of information need to be used from the component auditor by the group auditor, then that means that component auditor work is going to be significantly affecting the group auditor's work. And that component auditor, which is from the component company, so we say that the component company is going to be material. Yeah, remember component material, component materiality. Yeah? And also the auditor, group auditor is going to determine whether the component auditor operates in a regulatory environment, meaning that observe the rules and regulation. So if component auditor does not meet independence requirement that are relevant to the group audit, or the group engagement team has serious concern about the other matter listed, okay, group engagement team shall obtain sufficient audit evidence. So that means if let's say the group auditor cannot rely on the work used by the component auditor, the group auditor has to carry out the audit work themselves, right, in order to get the evidence that they can use to form group audit opinion. Yeah, as simple as that lah. Yeah, that is actually the major concern lah. Yeah, the major concern. So, and when we talk about the materiality here, remember, because group auditor is going to form group audit opinion, then the group auditor has to consider the component materiality. Yeah, which we said that the more material the component is to the group, that means the group auditor has to take some precaution. Yeah, has to consider, maybe extensive audit procedure to be carried out on this component that is material. And also going to evaluate the work of component auditor more seriously as compared to the component that are not material. Yeah. About the ethical responsibility, about the independence, etc. just now. Yeah. So also the component auditor has to be cooperative. Yeah. So the group auditor, they are going to select the team members. The team member can be component auditor or may not be from the component auditor. So it can be maybe group auditor can choose auditor S1, S2, but not A1. Yeah. And then the rest of the team member would be from the parent company lah. Yeah. So you can see here to get the component auditor involved would be easier because the information, yeah. But if let's say the component auditor is not part of the team member, then there might be difficulty. There might be difficulty in getting the evidence. So this has to be considered by the auditor. Yeah. Right. So you see here that these are the important consideration here of the group auditor when using the work of the group or using the work of component auditor. Yeah. So if it can be used, then the group auditor use that because they feel that it's reliable. If not, that means group auditor has to do the work themselves. Similarly, with regard to the internal auditor, using the work of internal auditor, if the external auditor cannot rely on the work of the internal auditor, the external auditor has to perform the test of control themselves. Yeah. So that's all actually I would like to say about the using the work of the component auditor. The rest would be, discussed when we go to the group audit. Yeah, because this one relate to the group audit. So when I mention about the group audit, I may relate back to component auditor. Yeah, but very little lah using the word because that one would be more in relation to performing the audit, performing the group audit. Mm, well, I think that's all for the using the work of component auditor. Thank you.